The mathematical field of combinatorics is all about counting problems. A lot of these are easy to understand, but some can be quite tricky to figure out. Today I want to show you a really cute proof technique called the stick and balls method. Stick and balls. So this makes quick work of a lot of basic problems in combinatorics. For an example of the stick and balls method in action, let's say we have 4 men, and the men are distinct. Perhaps this one is named Adam, and the next one is named Bo, and the next one is named Chuck, and the last guy is named Daryl. So these are 4 distinct men, and we are gods, and it is our intention to divide 10 chicken wings among these 4 men. The chicken wings, it should be stated, are identical. The math question here is how many ways could we divide these 10 chicken wings among these 4 men? And a quick way to answer this question is with the stick and balls method. The idea is that these 10 chicken wings, being identical, could be represented graphically as 10 balls. So these 10 balls represent the 10 chicken wings, and then by placing sticks somewhere along this line of 10 balls, we can describe an assignment of the 10 chicken wings to the 4 men. For example, if we put a stick there, and a stick there, we see that our first man, Adam, gets 2 chicken wings, the second man, Bo, also gets 2 chicken wings, the third, Chuck, gets a single chicken wing, and Daryl makes out like a king with 5 chicken wings. Indeed, every possible way that we could distribute these 10 chicken wings among the 3 men could be described by an arrangement of sticks and balls. For example, if we put 2 sticks directly next to each other, that means that a man, represented by the space between these sticks, would get 0 chicken wings. In this case, Adam would get 1 chicken wing, and the second man, Bo, would be stuck with nary a chicken wing. That means 0. Then, following the rest of this arrangement, Chuck would get 4 wings, and Daryl again would get 5. Note that the distribution looks very similar if we slightly change the placement of the sticks. In this case, again, the distribution is 1 chicken wing, 0 chicken wings, 4 chicken wings, and 5 chicken wings, but different people are getting different numbers of wings. So even though this is split up into the same numbers as the method we saw before, it would be considered a distinct distribution, which should be counted separately. If you don't think it's distinct, just ask Chuck what he thinks. In the previous arrangement, Chuck had 4 chicken wings, whereas in this one, he doesn't have a single chicken wing to speak of. So then, to finish our problem, we think about it like this. Any arrangement of chicken wings distributed among the men is going to consist of 3 sticks. Note that we only need 3 sticks, because each stick describes the wings that a single man will get, except for the last stick, which just by its nature is going to describe the numbers of chicken wings that 2 men get. So we need 1 fewer sticks than we have men. So a sequence of 3 sticks and 10 balls is going to describe a distribution of chicken wings among the men. Hence, to count all possible distributions, we simply need to ask how many ways there are to choose 3 spots for the 3 sticks from our sequence of 10 balls plus 3 sticks. This, if you're not familiar with it, is a mathematical symbol for exactly that. Rewriting it in a slightly nicer way, 10 plus 3 is 13, and we have 3 in the bottom. This is called a binomial coefficient, and it's read as 13 choose 3. It is, of course, the number of ways that we could choose 3 objects from a collection of 13, or in the context of this problem and the application of the stick and balls method, it's the number of ways that we could choose 3 positions in a sequence of 13 to be sticks. I'll leave a link in the description to a video where I go over how these things are calculated. The formula for it in this case is 13 factorial divided by 3 factorial times 13 minus 3 factorial. And this is equal to 286. So that's the solution to this particular problem, and in fact, there is a general name for the sort of thing that we've just counted. We've counted what are called the weak compositions of 10 into 4 parts. It's a composition of 10 because the 4 men must have had some number of wings that in total add to 10. And it's a weak composition because we did allow each man to receive 0 wings as long as in total there were 10 wings. A strong composition in this situation would require that each man gets at least 1 wing. Then we would be counting the strong compositions of the number 10. But to count those will require a more sophisticated application of the stick and balls method. So let's quickly do a couple other easier examples. Here's a simple question we could try to answer. How many ways are there to roll a sum of 7 if we roll 3 standard 6-sided die? So I'll write how many ways are there to roll 7 with 3 d6s. And again, to count these, we're going to use the stick and balls method. So take a minute and think, what will the balls be in this situation? Well, because we need a total of 7 between our 3 die that we are rolling, we will of course need 7 balls. In this context, the balls represent that sum of 7 dots showing on the 3 die. So we'll draw 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 balls. Now, how many sticks do we need to assign numbers to each die? Well, in fact, we only need 2. Just like for 4 men, we needed 3 sticks. For 3 die, we need 2 sticks. Because again, the first stick will specify a number showing on 1 die, in this case 2, but the last stick will necessarily specify the numbers showing on 2 die. So by placing these 2 sticks in this sequence of 7 balls, we see one way that we could roll a 7 with 3d6s. One die could show a 2, the second die could show a 4, and the final die could show 1. Now in the previous example, to finish the problem, we would say, well, we're going to have a sequence of 7 balls and 2 sticks, so it's a sequence of 9 objects total, and we need to count how many ways we could choose 2 of the positions in that sequence to be sticks. But that's not going to quite work here, because we can't allow any of the die to show 0. So for example, we couldn't pick 2 positions directly next to each other to place the sticks, because if we did that, that would imply that the second die is showing 0, which isn't possible. Instead, we have to realize there are exactly 6 positions each stick could have. Those are the 6 gaps between the 7 balls. So all we need to do is count the number of ways that we could pick 2 of these gaps among the 6 of them that we have to place our 2 sticks. And again, the binomial coefficients, just like we used last time, will do exactly that. Thus, the answer to our question is 6 choose 2. There is a 1-to-1 correspondence between ways that we could roll 7 with 3d6s and ways that we could pick 2 gaps among these 6 gaps to place these 2 sticks among the 7 balls. So the total number of ways we could roll a 7 is 6 choose 2. This is equal to 6 factorial divided by 2 factorial times 6 minus 2 factorial. And this happens to equal 15. Alright, let's do one more example before returning to the strong compositions problem. And hey, if you enjoy this video, consider hitting that join button to help support Wrath of Math by joining as a channel member. You can get early and exclusive access to extra videos just like this, as well as a lot of original music. You can hear me sing my heart out for you, so I'd really appreciate you considering. Let's say we have 10 balls, and each ball is labeled with a number 1 through 10. These 10 balls that are labeled 1 through 10 are all placed in a bag. What we're going to do is draw 3 of these balls from the bag with replacement. That means we'll take a ball and then note the number that's on it and then put it right back in the bag. So we'll take 1 ball and then we'll put it back in. And then we'll take a second ball and we'll put it back in. And then we'll take a third ball and put it back in. In each case, of course, noting the number that is shown on the ball we pick. The question is, how many ways could this happen so that the sum of the numbers on the 3 balls is equal to 13? Again, we're going to use the powerful method of stick and balls. For our stick and balls diagram, we're going to have 13 balls, representing the total of 13 from the numbers that are showing on the balls that we've drawn. Just like in the previous example, we should realize that it's not possible to draw a ball that shows the number 0. Our 10 balls are labeled 1 through 10. So for example, putting 2 sticks directly next to each other, which would indicate that one of the balls has shown 0, that's not something we want to count, because that's not possible in this situation. So again, we want to think about these separate 12 gaps between the 13 balls in the diagram. Again, making sure that sticks are placed in separate gaps of these 13 balls, we know that placing 2 sticks will be sufficient to describe the numbers showing on the balls that we draw from the bag. For example, this placement of 2 sticks tells us that the first ball we draw shows a 2, the second ball we draw shows a 3, and the third ball we draw shows the number 8. So we just need to count the total number of ways that we can place 2 sticks among these 12 gaps in the 13 balls in our diagram. So 12 choose 2. Except not quite. There are just a couple possibilities we need to exclude. For example, it's possible we have a stick here and a stick here. If we just count 12 choose 2, this is one of the possibilities that counts. But this is not actually applicable in our situation, because this arrangement of sticks among the balls says that the first ball we draw shows a 1, the second also shows a 1, and then the third shows 11. But that's not possible because our balls are only labeled 1 through 10. So any arrangement that has 2 of the balls showing a 1 will force another ball to have 11, which isn't possible. So this needs to be excluded. This also needs to be excluded for the same reason. You have 2 balls showing 1, and thus 1 ball showing 11, which isn't possible. And this also needs to be excluded. Again, this has 2 balls showing 1, and 1 ball showing 11. So what we need to do is take 12 choose 2, the number of ways that we could place 2 sticks among the 12 gaps of these 13 balls, but then we need to subtract 3 to get rid of those 3 possibilities that aren't actually applicable in our situation. And this turns out to be 66 minus 3, so our final answer is 63. Now you may notice the 2 examples we just did were counting strong compositions. In the dice example, we were counting how many ways we can make the number 7 using 3 positive integers. And in this example, drawing balls from a bag, we were counting the number of ways that we could make 13 from 3 positive integers between 1 and 10. So slightly different, but still strong compositions of a sort. Of course, neither of these possibilities addresses how we would find all strong compositions of a particular positive integer. This, again, just focuses on strong compositions of 3 numbers that happen to be less than or equal to 10. Well, from the examples that we've just seen, we know that the number of strong compositions of a positive integer n into k parts is quite straightforward. It's just n minus 1, which in the stick and balls frame we view as counting the gaps between the n balls. It's n minus 1 choose k minus 1, where we would view k minus 1 as the k minus 1 sticks necessary to cut the row of balls into k parts. Just like you saw with rolling 7 using 3 die, we came down to 6 choose 2. 7 minus 1 choose 3 minus 1. So how do we count all strong compositions of a positive integer n? Well, certainly one way is to just add up this expression for all of the possible values of k, which would look like this using summation notation. This says to add up n minus 1 choose k minus 1, that's the number of strong compositions of n into k parts, for all values of k starting from k equals 1, where we could think of the strong composition of n into 1 part, which would just be n itself, and then add that to k equals 2 parts, so the strong compositions of n into 2 parts, and then 3 parts and 4 parts, and so on. K climbs from that starting value of 1 all the way up to its biggest possible value of n. That's the strong composition of n into n parts, which would just be a sum of n ones. Because remember, these are strong compositions, so each number in the composition has to be at least 1. So this little summation would give us the correct answer, counting all strong compositions of a number n. But there is a more clever way that uses a sort of highly sophisticated stick and balls argument. The idea is to consider what looks like a row of sticks, but is in fact just a row of ones. How many ones exactly? Well, we will say it is a row of n ones total, representing that arbitrary positive integer for whom we're trying to count strong compositions. Now, each of these ones has some space between them. In particular, we'll actually just put an empty square for the time being. The trick comes from the fact that there's actually a one-to-one correspondence between strong compositions of n and arrangements of these ones with pluses or commas in all of the squares. So any strong composition of n could be described in this graphical manner by placing pluses and commas in the squares in the correct order. Similarly, any placement of pluses and commas in these squares would correspond to a distinct strong composition of n. For example, if we had pluses in these first two squares and then a comma, that would say that the first part of n is 1 plus 1 plus 1, which is 3. This comma is now separating as we go into the next part of this particular strong composition. If there was a comma right here, for example, near the end, that would say that the last part of the composition is just 1. For a more concrete example, consider the number 6. Certainly, one strong composition of the number 6 is 1 plus 2 plus 3, and we can easily represent this in the graphical manner that we just discussed. We would have 6 ones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we would have a comma after the first one, because the first part is just 1. Then we would have a plus and then a comma, because the second part is 1 plus 1, which is 2, and the third part is 1 plus 1 plus 1. So the last two squares would have pluses, and that tells us that 3 is the last part of the composition. Of course, we could similarly take any assignment of pluses and commas in those squares to describe a strong composition of 6. And note how this technique allows us to describe strong compositions of any number of parts. For example, we just looked at a diagram representing a strong composition of 6 into 3 parts, but we could put a comma, and another comma, and another comma, and then a plus and a comma to represent a strong composition of 6 into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. This corresponds to the strong composition 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is indeed a strong composition of 6, described by this graphical diagram. So in total, how many strong compositions of 6 are there? Well, we see that there are 5 gaps between the 6 ones, and in each of those gaps, we have 2 choices. Put a plus or put a comma. Counting all of those possibilities, it's 2 choices 5 times, and so there are 32 total compositions, or strong compositions, I should say, of 6. That's 2 to the power 5 because we have 2 choices for each of the 5 gaps between the ones. So indeed, going back to our summation formula for counting strong compositions of n, we now see a simpler way. If we're counting strong compositions of n, we can imagine a row of n ones, which would thus have n minus 1 gaps between them, and we can simply count the number of ways that pluses or commas could be assigned to those n minus 1 gaps. There are 2 choices each for n minus 1 gaps, so that number is 2 to the power of n minus 1, which necessarily must equal this sum. So that's pretty neat. It turns out that strong compositions are quite easy to count as long as you've mastered the stick and balls method. And anytime you're faced with a simple counting problem, the stick and balls method can be really helpful for seeing the number of ways that you might be able to count a certain thing. Well, let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and be sure to subscribe for more of the swankiest math videos on the internet.
From my fate, twisting to escape this. Cutting out of my wrist if you can break it. Breaking in my past, I'm making it up fast. So slow down, give me the time so I can fake it. Erase the tone of words and just how I say shit. And let me speak my poetry to your face. It's not intimate if you ain't listening. Not infinite if you ain't really into it.